it's actually a funny story why this beer is actually on tap, because this is supposed to be a lavender ESB. But the partners were sampling from the tank, and they just said, this is just way too great. We have to actually capture a keg of this beer before we even do the lavender adjustment. But it's a nice, very nutty ESB. But then we have another version that's coming, with lavender. But the lavender is really complementary, and it's light. It's not like a very overpowering lavender feel. So it's,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. Today we have adventured to Notre-Dame-de-l'Île-Perrot, Quebec, and joining me is Francis from Microbrasserie Perodam. Thank you very much for hosting us today. Really appreciate this.
You're welcome.
You brought me out some tasty beers here to try, but before, what's the story of Perodam? Why are you guys here?
Yeah, well, this is a story of 5 guys who got together and wanted to start up a cool community project going around a brewery. So myself, I'm the brewer. I'm the one who got into the project for the production, for the beers, the recipe, and then we have very complementary teams. So we have sales. That's Olivier's been doing sales for quite a long time in the beverage industry, and we all have full-time jobs, and this is a way for us to kind of have a fun project. I work in different breweries as a consultant. I've worked in breweries before as well. And this is just a fun lab project where we tried a bunch of different stuff. We have fun. We're not trying to be someone we're not. And we're just, trying to make this community of ile-perrot live, because there's not much around here. And it's kind of the goal to bring people together.
Awesome. Yeah. Love it. Cool. We'll get into your call, the Microbrasserie Solidaire, which we'll get into shortly. But I'm going to start with a beer here. So what am I starting with? So
this is a Helles lager. Okay. So a Munich lager. So it's a German beer style, and so it's like a Pils, but it's very crushable. It's like very light and nice and crisp, but it's like a little bit darker than the Pils that you're used to drinking. So
yeah. Awesome. As we do. Toast.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, that's a good starter beer. Yeah, nice malty. Not like crazy malty. It's well balanced. It's super clean. Like you said, that's a good starting beer here.
Yep.
So the name Perodam, where does that come from?
So Perodam is people from Notre-Dame-de-l'Île-Perrot are Perodamois people. So it's really the name of the citoyens of the island, the citizens, right? It's it's like the public's beer, the people from here. This is their spot.
Very cool.
That's where it's coming from.
Nice, simple, straightforward. There's no need to complicate things.
Exactly.
It's very good. Yeah. So that Helles is quite delicious.
Thank you.
And we're while we're recording this, we're still in kind of the end of the Oktoberfest season. So that's hitting there for me. Awesome. So Microbrasserie Solidaire, that's the first I've heard of that. What does that mean? What does that represent?
Well, that's some kind of identification we gave ourselves. Like I said, this is a community project, and we're trying to help out people, and we're trying to bring the community together. So when this project started out, we wanted to have this be a co-op project. But the organization behind the co-op is quite complicated to have working as a brewery even. There's a couple of people done it. But we chose to still go through the regular system, but have a lot of concepts and base functionalities of a co-op that we want to bring to the brewery. So we have into our convention of aficionados. I'm not sure how to say that in English, but
action plan, I guess.
Yeah, it's part of our action plan and our vision to redistribute some of our gains from the brewery to the community. So building park benches, helping out the community, making events, and this is one of the ways that we're Solidaire, as in people come here, they help us out, make this brewery work, and then we give back to them as well. So that's and some of the stuff we do we have our IPA series that we always put forward a citizen from the community. So it's either someone who's influenced the community a lot, or someone who's made their mark, some funny character from the community, people that the community knows a lot, and that's what we put forward. And then all of our beer names are all from this area here, so it's a very local base and centered to this community. So it's very solidaire in that way.
So very community focused.
Yes.
It's very clear that you need your locals to support you here. As of our recording, you're not even 2 months old.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild. I think you might be the freshest, in a sense, brewery that we've interviewed, which is wild to us because as a show, we started just before the pandemic. And I'd say we're like 50-50 of breweries that opened during the pandemic and breweries that had been well established already. And I'm sure when you guys were creating the Perodam, it's like, okay, there's a pandemic. Are we still going to do this?
Yeah, well, the whole project started during the whole pandemic, and it was always our goal not to be a brewery that distributes. A couple of the partners, we've been in the industry in Quebec, and I've also been in Vancouver, and we know how tough it is to fight for market spots in retail environment, in supermarkets, and in dépanneurs. It's all very tough to get there, and it's very competitive. So that's not even our focus at all. We're trying to serve the community here and just be present on the island. So at the moment, we only sell from our beer fridge right here and from the tap. So we don't even distribute at all, but we're trying to find a couple spots on the island. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's great to have. And, it says your beer fridge is open from 8 to 11, which is the law in Quebec. It's 11 p.m.
Yeah, we're required by law.
You cut off beer sales. Was this the location you guys always wanted, or did you look around at a few places around ile-perrot?
The location was actually the first move to start this project. Olivier saw this spot available, and he actually went ahead and rented it without even going any further in the project. So it was the first step was actually getting this spot. And what we liked about this spot is it's right next to Point du Moulin, which is like a historical park, and So you were talking earlier about why the Perodam, why the X, and that kind of ties into that. Because with the park here, I'm going to sort of finish with the spot here, but this is why it's surrounded by houses, so it's perfect for this kind of community setting we're trying to fit in. The Moulin is the icon of our brewery here. I don't know if you want me to go into that right away.
Yeah, please.
So, you only get flour when the water or the wind runs. So that's kind of the concept is we try to only use ingredients that the seasons provide to us, right? So the windmill works. We work with the windmill and the flow of the seasons. And so that's kind of what everything ties into here. So like the X is the paddles on the windmill. And then we have the little house. So when you take the glass and you look at it from this direction, and you actually see the windmill, right? So that's our that's our logo. Cool. So everything's built around that, and the fact that we try to respect the seasons and try to respect what the earth gives to us. That's what we brew with. So
speaking of that season, we're coming to the end of it. Peach white.
Yeah,
is the next one. Okay, so tell me about the peach white.
So this is peach and apricot wit, actually.
Okay.
And so this is I like to give a twist on some traditional styles and to make them my own and to make them different. So it's not a fruit beer. It's not in any ways sweet at all. It's just got a little bit of sweetness from the peach and the apricot, but it just makes a nice and round finish. Yeah, so it's a
toast.
Cheers. Yeah,
that's nice. That's something. Thankfully today it's a nice day out. I could see myself sitting on your terrace and having at least one or two of these.
Yeah, this is one of a lot of people like that one. And actually, a lot of people who say that they're not themselves wheat beer drinkers, and they appreciate this one because it's not too much on the Belgian style with a bunch of coriander and orange. It's just more so on the light fruitiness from the wits.
What got you into brewing beer?
What got me to brewing beer was actually, back in the day it was home brewing, but I only did a little bit of that before I actually started learning more industrial ways. And so I went to school in Vancouver in a program in, it was in Langley, so it's on the outside skirts of Vancouver. So I studied there for 2 years, so it's a brewing and brewery operations program. So went and set out over there and learned to brew, worked in a bunch of breweries in Vancouver, and then came back here and started more of my professional career, and I've been working in breweries ever since. So this is pretty much what I've done my whole life is brewing. So far, I'm not very old, but this is what I've been doing. So yeah.
Where's that moment that it clicked where you're like, I'm gonna brew beer. This is what I want to do.
It's a combination of me being a very science-forward person. I wanted to go into engineering and chemical engineering and stuff like that really interested me. But I also have a pretty big share of my focus being creative and trying to build different being creative has always been something important for me. So combining the science and the creativity it's a very easy match to find beer because it's such a science-forward process. So you have to understand all the chemistry and all the bio that goes into it, but also then you're creating a bunch of different stuff and you're working with ingredients and building recipes, and it's just really fun for me to work with all these different parameters.
Yeah, beer is science and art in a glass.
Yeah.
So what's beer number 3 I got here?
So this is a saison that's dry hopped, so it's pretty interesting, but it's not a very fruity dry hop. It's more of a floral, so it's nice and spicy from the yeast, but then you have a nice little floral kick from the hops.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Toast, yeah.
It's also on the stronger side of alcohol-wise, so I think it's around 6.5%, so.
Just with the saison, I'm always worried it's going to be like way too peppery.
Yeah.
So, and there's nothing of that here, so.
Yeah. The dry hop helps it out a bunch.
Yeah.
Never tried a dry hop.
It does have a dryness to it, which is enjoyable for me, so. Very tasty.
Thank you.
So was the area, Notre-Dame-de-l'Île-Perrot, were they very welcoming of having a microbrasserie here? Was it like, finally, somebody stepping up and doing this?
Yeah, I mean, microbrewery or even a bar in general. Yeah. We don't try to be a bar at all. We close pretty early, but just the fact that there's a spot where you can come and drink a beer, I mean, people feel really, feel strongly about making this place work, like I was saying before, because we try to put in front that we're helping them out as much as possible, and then them having the opportunity to come here and drink beers and chat with us. And it's been great. We had to change the permits or the law zoning for this area to be able to do that, and that just went really easy with the city, and they just were very welcoming. So it's great. Yeah, it's been so easy on that end for sure.
Very cool. What were the first couple of beers that came out of the brew house? What were the first Perodam's beers?
Well, I brewed the Helles first. Brewed some lighter beers, trying to get used to the system, trying to get used to working out the different equipment back there. So I got my Grisette, which is this one right here that I don't have for you right now, but it's very lighter beers. Is the ones I got out just to get used to the system, yeah.
And I'm guessing with the Helles, that's that beer where now you're in a smaller community, so you probably have a lot of macro drinkers. Yeah. Is that Helles like that the gateway beer for Pierre from down the street is like, oh no, I only drink Molson. It's like, here, try this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Helles is definitely one that I suggest when people are willing to drink a light blonde, and I point them towards the Helles, or even the Point du Moulin is even lighter. It's like it's a Grisette, so it's a lightweight Belgian style, but it's so easy to drink. And I have some friends who don't even drink a lot of craft breweries, and they enjoy these two quite a bit. So, and then you work your way up to the peach wit, and then you can go all the way to some very hazy stuff. And
I mean, 2 months in, you guys have some great beers. So.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So the naming and the labeling, you stayed very straightforward, very simple. Yeah. What made you stay with the naming too, of like, just keep it simple and not go like crazy punny or over the top names? Yeah,
well, you kind of said it yourself. It's we want to keep it simple, and so doing that, we found a system where it would be easy to add a lot of beers. So the plan is not for me to have a lot of regular beers. So a lot of beers are changing. That's a lot of work for the brewer for sure to create recipes, and a lot of work for design as well. So we wanted to keep a system where we have 3 types of beers, or 4 actually now, because we're going to come out with our experimental beers as well. But we have our regular beers that are one specific style, and those are the ones that we're going to try to keep always going. And then we have the seasonal beers that have their own style, and these are beers where we take a focus on a landmark around here. So all these beers here are focused on a landmark, either a very old church or a lake around here. And then we have the citizen beers where we can just pick someone from the community. So it makes it a little easier on our end to be able to bring a lot of different beers without having to scratch our heads too much on wordplay or stuff like that. So we just have this system that makes it easier for us to work in a lot of different styles.
Like that. It's, it's nice, it's simple, it's straightforward. It's all about community here from what I'm seeing, mentioning that you're a Microbrasserie Solidaire. That's the important part, is that's what you are. You're all about this community right now. So, and I'm sure you'll be in stores and depeners or beer depeners in my area at some point in Verdun too. So hopefully soon.
One day.
you're still like an infant in the brewing industry.
Yeah, we can't even have any beers on at the dep next door that they've been asking for a while, so we don't have stock for that at the moment.
Awesome. Now you mentioned, as you said, you worked with a farm down the street as like a collab, and I'm guessing not just that is you're sending them your spent grain to feed the animals and stuff like that. Besides that farm, what other collabs have you done? You're still, like I said, very new, but what collabs have you done? Even you said you used to brew in Vancouver. Who have you worked with in the brewing industry before that you'd like to work with again?
I mean, I'd love to work with some friends that are still in Vancouver for sure, but that's quite tough to do some across the country collabs. I worked at a couple of breweries over there, but in Quebec here, we've been talking about having some collabs. It's always tough because our capacity is at the moment what's limiting us. But I've helped out the Terre à Boire, which are really cool, and we've been talking about working a beer together. Olivier, one of the owners here, is also part owner with Vagabond, so we're gonna probably do a bunch of stuff and probably brew some beers here that we'll have on tap for exclusively for Vagabond. We definitely have some collab projects coming up, and so like the farm, actually Mathieu, the owner of the farm, is owner here as well. Okay. So that's how we're easily partners, and we have a bunch of beers that we're making with his ingredients. And next year he's actually going to grow some hops and some malts. So it's going to be pretty fun to work with those as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy to see how some of the farms are like, oh no, like because it's a lot harder to get hops now. Like people have to order years ahead through like the hop farms in the west coast of the U.S. and stuff. It's like, okay, let's just grow them locally now. And why don't we have a lot of hop farms in Quebec? I know hops aren't easy to grow, but why don't we have as many farms as we could in Quebec? You know, we hang out with a home brewer who lives in the West Island, and he grows his own hops in his backyard.
Yeah. And we all know that we can't do everything with hops grown here, because this is like, it's like one, everywhere hops grow, then the flavor is different. So you have to work with a bunch of different areas, but we hope to use as much as possible from this little area. And some of the beers that we actually have here is just like, hey, I have a lot of blackcurrant in my fields, and you guys think you could be interested in doing beer? So like, all right, let's do a Berliner Weiss with some of your blackcurrant. So like, we kind of work at that, and I'm flexible with working and changing different beers. So yeah, it's interesting.
Very cool. What's beer number 4 I got here?
This is an ESB I just put on tap yesterday. It's actually a funny story of why this beer is actually on tap, because this is supposed to be a lavender ESB. But the partners were sampling from the tank, and they just said, this is just way too great. We have to actually capture a keg of this beer before we even do the lavender adjustment. But it's a nice, very nutty ESB. But then we have another version that's coming, with lavender. But the lavender is really complementary, and it's light. It's not like a very overpowering lavender feel. So it's
awesome.
Enjoy. Cheers.
I love a good ESB. Yeah, the maltiness and the caramel and nuttiness is just it's dancing on my palate. So.
Yeah, it's very malt forward beer, and I think it turned out great.
Yeah, that's a lot of people don't understand like how good an ESB can be when it's on, and that is very, very on.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. So, what are some dream collabs you'd love to do that once you're a year in, let's say, or for your first year anniversary, any kind of local guys or just the entire province of Quebec, Ontario, Canada, like now you mentioned, it's hard to go to Vancouver to do a collab, plus you have a limited system, but I know the guys from Third Moon, they did a 5 kind of Zoom collab.
Okay.
Could you see yourself doing that in the future where, hey dude, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm in Montreal, I'm in ile-perrot now. You say Montreal, they'll know. And it's like, let's virtually collab. Who are those people you'd love to shout out?
Well, there's my good buddy James, who's in Newfoundland now. So I'd love to work with him, and I have some friends in BC, in Calgary. So people move around a lot in this space, but I have a bunch of individuals I'd like to work with, and that's kind of an interesting thing. Is that in the industry you're attached to some brewers, and when people move around, then those interests move around as well. So I have a bunch of people there. I mean, there's Maxime at Sainte-Jeanne that we've been talking about doing a work together. I mean, there's a lot of projects coming up that we'd like to make work, but we just have to start working ourselves before we even go into all of that. And I'm one to be cautious when we start doing that kind of stuff, because I want to nail my process down before I even start training someone, before I even start working with other people. So it's very important for me to do that. But in the future, we'll definitely be doing some collabs. Yeah.
So let's say somebody's coming from Montreal or from Ontario, since you're right on the highway from Ontario. Like literally, you're on the highway. You just take a right, and then you can come over here. Let's say somebody's adventuring from Ontario or Montreal. I come here, I try a pint, buy some cans. Friends in the area to definitely check out.
Yeah, well, there's definitely Trois Lacs that's nearby, and we've actually been working together. Like, oh man, I'm out of this yeast. Could you help me out? And then you just drive there, and Michel Chan is really nice over there, and we like him a lot. So definitely that can be something interesting to go and see. I'm actually not from the area. This was just kind of weird considering the whole project. But we're five partners, and three of them are actually from the island here. And myself and another partner are from Montreal and South Shore. So I'm not too familiar with the different places around. But I mean, definitely Trois Lacs is a good friend of ours, and I mean. We have friends in a bunch of breweries. As I said, I've been in the industry here for a couple of years, and Olivier as well. So with Vagabond and Collectif Brassicole Ensemble in Boucherville, that they make a bunch of different beers, and I work with them as well as in consulting. So it's like we have a big span of reach, I think, and friends in the industry that I think people could go to. Just drinking local beer is just always what I say. Just wherever you're at, just try to find the closest brewery and then go there. I mean, no matter what it is, it'll be nice.
So you mentioned you're from Montreal. What are some of your favorite breweries that you go to when you're not drinking your own beer? What are some beers you enjoy in Montreal?
Well, definitely Brewski with Derek. He's doing a great job. I mean, I like a lot of also good traditional places like Cheval Blanc is like really nice, and they have some solid beers. Man, that's a tough question. I don't even have time to go out and drink beers anymore in other places. But I'm having a hard time getting names out right now. But yeah, those are some good shout outs. I mean, there's Toltec in Boucherville as well, which are doing a great job. Simon over there is an awesome brewer.
They just said 2 or 3. They're still pretty young too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mutsoid are super young.
Yeah.
Melon, it's crazy. Like I said, how many breweries have opened during the pandemic where it's like, okay, I can. And now you guys clearly went to cans, and a lot of people do because cans are just a lot more cost effective, I'm assuming, than glass, and it's a lot less work than glass bottles.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, just the whole return system is tough, and I've done it before at Bilboquet. I was production manager there for 2 years, and it's a tough system, and even them now are doing cans. So yeah, I mean, the cans for us is also a space saver, because this is our biggest challenge here is space. So just trying to get just-in-time cans, so when we're packaging and we don't have a lot of space to store anything, so that's also why we've done it that way. There's options now to do it even for printed cans in small volumes like us, so why not? It's recyclable.
I can only assume if one of your neighbors closes shop, you're going to be asking the owner of the area, can we knock down the wall because we want to expand. We're
hoping one day that'll happen. We're not putting any pressure on anyone, but definitely being able to double our space here would be fantastic. If not moving, but let's not think about moving right away. We've put a lot of time into setting up our area here, and so
like I said, not even moving, just knocking down this wall. And then we can put the fridge over. We can put a few more tables. Maybe add a small kitchen of some sort. Just your hours are limited right now, but you mentioned you're gonna maybe add a day. And I'm sure you're gonna add an employee and an assistant brewer at some point. So you guys are growing. Like I said, you're still an infant.
Yeah, of course, and we are already working on those steps for sure. But I mean, our model is not to expand so much, but definitely growing is always part of a business plan for sure.
What's beer number 5 here?
So this is Matante Coco, which is a citizen beer, and this is a New England IPA on the lighter side, and I had a kind of inspiration on that beer, like a pina colada style beer. So this is some HBC 472. It's an experimental hop that's like coconut and pineapple-ish flavor. And I also have some Sabro in there that's known for the coconut. Cheers.
Toast.
Yeah. Very tropical.
Oh, yeah.
Tropical flavored and nice and light.
As soon as you mentioned coconut too, I felt it like go down the palate.
Yeah, sometimes I have some ideas like that I try to combine some.
Is it 6.5?
No, that's light. That's actually 5.
Wow.
Fish. Yeah.
That's pretty light.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
5.5.
I was expecting this to. It's always the deceiving part of like a stronger beer that tastes like this.
Yeah.
Because you're always like, no, it's 7% or more, but this 5 is really good.
And it's also on the drier side of New England IPAs. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, I mean, so clearly you're a very new brewery, but I'm guessing a year from now you could finally take a 2-week vacation. But you're going to focus that vacation on going to breweries somewhere. Yeah. Somewhere you've never been. Where would that be?
Where I've never been.
Yeah.
That's tough. I was going to say I love Vermont beers, and I love the West Coast Vancouver area as well for beers, and Vancouver Island. I love Ile Sauvage is one of those spots I really strongly like. But if I'm going to somewhere I've never been, I think it'd be somewhere between Czech Republic and Germany, where beer is also very strong in the community and making crisp, clean, professional type beers is also something I look up to a lot, because I know people from Europe that come here. They're like, these are all just like craft brewery or home brewers that just like expanded their scales, and then they don't understand all these tiny breweries building up. They're like used to bigger equipment and stuff like that. So I mean, it's a different way of seeing beer, and I think I like it a lot. Going to Czech Republic and
I think Germany's interesting, and like especially if you find a place that's still like lagering underground with the wild yeast and stuff, like that would be so interesting to me. Yeah. And then ultimately, the real Oktoberfest. As great as small, hyper-focused local Oktoberfests are, from Kanawaki to Kettering to, I think Toilac did one this year. These are fun, but doing the real thing, I'm sure, is just amazing. I've personally never been outside of North America, so it's just to do that and to go to real Oktoberfest would be. And I know you're drinking their version of macro, but I'm sure their version of macro is a lot better and tastier than our version of macro.
Yeah, which is different,
So I know you're staying kind of more hyper-focused and local, but are there plans for what's next, getting in dépanneurs and things like that? Or not dépanneurs, but beer stores like, let's say, Malte Hops and 5 à 7 in Villemard, like stores like that? Is that kind of a focus of where you guys want to go?
Yeah, for sure. At one point, we're actually opening up some spots in the IGA down in ile-perrot over there. So that's going to be our first location right now. And then we're trying to open up next door as well with the owners here, so that when we're closed and our hours are quite limited, so that when we're not here, then people can still find their products next door. And so those are our short-term projects. Yeah. But definitely beer stores would be nice, and do some exclusive stuff as well. And we have a small system. We have the capability of producing some small batches and being creative and changing up our styles every now and then. So it opens up a lot of opportunities.
I will say I'm very impressed with IGA's beer selection over the last couple of years. I think it's Philip Wouters. He's really stepped up and helped them and been like, no, you guys have to put Quebec beers in our stores. Yeah. And from, I'm in Verdun, my IGA is super small, but when I go to LaSalle, just the neighborhood over, the beer selection is pretty much the size of your brewery is their beer selection. It's crazy. So it's fantastic. And the fact that I can focus on Quebec beers when I'm in Quebec, or I could go to Ontario and focus on Ontario beers, and they're starting to get beer stores now. But the LCBO, as much as it's a big conglomerate, at least they focus on hyper local, which is important. So there's always a place to buy good craft beer. You should be buying good craft beer. Yeah, there's no question about it. What's this last beer I got here?
This is a New England IPA, kind of oat cream style. There's a lot of oats, and so it's very hazy. That's the focus, and it's some Eldorado, Azacca, and Amarillo hops in there. So.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Toast? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's dangerous.
Yeah, so that's a
dangerously
heavier,
tasty.
Yeah, 7.2%.
Yep.
And yeah, nice and drinkable.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just took a bunch of sips and I'm like, I gotta drive after. I gotta be careful. Awesome. You got a pretzel, $5 pretzel lovers. Pretzel and beer is very much a staple of community. And I even mentioned Oktoberfest before. Like, I've eaten so many pretzels in the month of September, October. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Where are you getting your pretzels from?
So there's a bakery right in the same building as us that make homemade pretzels, and they make usually big like meal pretzels, and they made a custom size for us for snacks. So it's really fun to be able to work with them, and they just bring us stuff. And they've actually asked for our spent grains to try to work something with that. So it's nice to be able to partner with local shops around here.
Yeah. So that's what I love to say is like beer is, you remember like early on when recycling became a big thing, the kind of the circle or the triangle circle type thing where it's like reduce, reuse, recycle. Yeah. That's craft beer industry is you are reusing. So you're sending your spent grain, they're making it this for you, they're bringing it here, and then you're sending it out. You're also sending your spent grain to the farm and the animals are eating it, and that eventually that meat or whatever it becomes comes back into the community, and that's what we love about the brewing industry is it is all about supporting and staying local and within the industry, and it's all showing the love to each other. Yeah. And that's when your community comes in, as people come in from, down the street. I'm sure a guy had a stressful day on the island, like back in Montreal, comes home, drops off the car, comes down, drinks a couple of beer on a Friday night, and just goes home.
Yeah, of course.
So that's the important part.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great talk today, Francis. Yeah. I really appreciate you taking your time into your schedule to speak with us about your brewery and everything about the Notre-Dame-de-l'Île-Perrot community. For those who are looking for you guys, where can they find you?
So we are in Notre-Dame-de-l'Île-Perrot at the corner of Don Quixote and Boulevard Perrot. So come and see us. We're open newly now on Wednesdays, Thursdays, as well as Friday and Saturday from noon until dawn, pretty much, is what we work off. So that's
going to be earlier soon.
Yeah. But we'll have some spaces inside as the weather starts cooling down. So come and see us and grab a drink, have a chat with us. This is all about a community area. So come and have a chat and drink some great beers. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you once again. As for us, allbeerinside.com is the website. At allbeerinside on all social media. And as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.